So guys, thank you so much for joining, first of all. And, so happy to be hosting the first Ask Me Anything session today. Why we conceptualize this particular session? Because a lot of students, they keep writing to us about so many questions that they have. And sometimes it's practically impossible for us to catch up and actually respond to some of these questions. So we thought let's put together these forums, where we all can come together every fortnight. Whoever has a question, we'll be there. When we posted this on the social media and we said that, the first session is going to be on this Saturday, a lot of industry folks wrote to us saying that, can we also be a part of this? And can we actually come in as mentors? So the good part is that there are professionals who want to come in and talk to students like you. They want to come and mentor you. They want to come and address the questions that you have. And, what gives us pleasure is that, that these are people from different spheres of, careers. There are different spheres of industry. So yesterday, somebody reached out, who's a sustainability champion. And she wanted to talk about, what is sustainability? What are some of the careers that one can look forward to in sustainability? Somebody reached out who's a communications expert. And, this person wanted to talk about how do you communicate effectively to get results. So it's quite heartwarming to know that there are so many people who are coming forward to talk to you all. This being the first session, you'll see me talking and answering a lot of your questions. If I'm not able to answer something, I would just request you to park the question. We'll connect with one of the mentors, and then those mentors will actually address these questions for you. So we'll try our best to address all the questions today. How we've structured this is that for 15 minutes we're going to share something with you, share something which is, something from our experience that we've experienced. And we want to share it with you so that you're able to leverage that learning and actually, get rid of those small things which don't let you be in your best space. So we want you to be in your best space, and therefore it's important that we share with you things that you can get rid of. Devesh, I think you'll have to disable the waiting room, please. There are too many pop-ups coming on my screen. Or just remove the host rights from my account. That will be faster, I think. Okay, so like I said, first 15 minutes we'll be talking about some truth bombs, some wisdom, some knowledge nuggets, whatever you may call it as. And then we'll keep 45 minutes for us to chat. We'll keep these 45 minutes to talk about what questions that you may have. Now, when we first posted this, a lot of students asked us, what kind of questions can we ask? So we said, ask anything that's on your mind, that's not letting you be in your best space today. It could be, some concerns that you have about life. It could be concerns that you have about careers. It could be, you're looking something but you don't know where to go. Whatever is on your mind, just ask. Like I said, like I said, if I am able to answer today, very happy to answer. If I am not able to answer today, so if you ask me, how's the new RBI policy going to change the way the markets behave, maybe I'm not the authority in that space, so I will park that for you with somebody else who is an authority who would love to answer that question for you. So very happy to, be starting this. So just as my introduction, I'm the co-founder of Yugma and VANS Skilling and Advisory. We started Yugma last year, and VANS was conceptualized 3 years ago. Before that, I worked with, 3 large companies across 4 different geographies in multiple capacity and roles. I was leading the HR transformation exercise for one of the largest manufacturing companies within the Piramal Group. Before I quit, and Srinivas and I started this particular company called VANS Skilling and Advisory. I've been actually mentoring students since last 13 years now. Like I said, I was a part of the human resources team across 3 different companies. So, we used to hire summer interns, we used to hire students for live projects. And it's been roughly about in last 13 years, I would have worked with some 500 different students from different campuses across different, streams of management and graduation. So one thing, there are certain threads that you observe, right, when you work with students, and you see the stars, you identify those stars, they are going to shine in their lives, and you also see students who are not the stars, and what really differentiates them are certain threads, are certain patterns, that they display when they approach an assignment, when they approach a project. And I thought maybe in our first session we could talk about what those threads are, threads that I have observed that really differentiates, stars. And some of the students I mentored early on in my career, students who worked with me, when I see them, achieving the milestones that they had visualized at that point of time, it's so heartwarming. And that kind of reinforces those threads that, we observe. So what we're going to talk about today is really the mindsets. So when you do a summer project, one, of course, is what you know about the subject. What are you supposed to deliver? 2 is how do you approach that subject? What kind of experience do you design around that subject? So, okay, before we go there, one thing. So, last week I went through an interesting research, and this research said that the reason kids in school, they're asked to write A, B, C, D, when you start learning alphabets, the reason you start writing is because when your hand is coordinated with your mind, the retention is faster. So when you write something with your fingers, with a pen in your finger, you tend to retain something faster, you tend to absorb that faster, and you tend to assign a specific meaning to it faster. So what I'm going to do today is I'm not going to use any PowerPoint presentation. I have my notes written out here. So I wrote down all the things which I want to talk to you about, not on the PowerPoint, but in my diary. And I also want you to write down everything in your diary. So what I say, there could be different ways of interpreting those, because the point which I make, and 5 of you may have 5 different ways of looking at it. Your context is different, your life situations are different, so you may absorb it differently, and I want you to absorb it the way you think is relevant for you. And therefore no PowerPoints. I just want you to listen, I just want you to absorb, I just want you to write things which stay with you, assign a meaning to that, right? So I'm going to be referring to my notes. So you'll keep, you'll see me, looking down once in a way to make sure that I don't miss out on anything. All right, so let's talk about these mindsets, these threads and these patterns that, I have seen across these 500 plus students that I've mentored across summers. There are 5 threads, and these 5 threads, or 5 mindsets, are actually the ones which would differentiate, like I said, stars from the rest, right? And everybody, I've realized, does a project, but very few students actually master that experience of doing a project. So what are these 5 mindsets? Mindset number 1 is building trust, the mindset of building trust. So a few things, how can you build trust? One is honor time. And it's like somebody says, let's meet at 3. Are you there 2 minutes before 3 o'clock? Right? So basically what you are telling is, I respect your time and I want you to respect my time as well. So you're honoring time. You're there 2 minutes before time. You're there 5 minutes before time. So when you show up late, it kind of, gives that impression to the other person that you are not in control of your own time. And therefore, if you can't respect your time, you will not respect my time as well. And therefore, it's important that you honor that time and you get that trust that, okay, this person knows how to respect somebody's space and respect somebody's time and somebody's the commitment that you've given, that I'll be there sharp at 3. Sorry. Dress up professionally, so sorry. So, many times, and especially on, when you're doing your projects virtually on Zoom calls, it's very natural sometimes to show up casually. It's quite natural, or, show up, not in your best elements. And believe me, when you show up in your best elements, your confidence also goes up. So when you're talking something, you will talk confidently because you're feeling confident within you. So first thing, you need to feel confident within you. And when you dress up professionally, it increases that level of trust which people show up in you. Sometimes, what happens is, and, this is one of the biggest things which I've seen students doing when they really want to gather trust from their managers. You have a deliverable, you go to a manager with the objective of getting approval. So what it really means is that you anticipate all the scenarios. You anticipate that, okay, what kind of questions might come up. You anticipate, what kind of scenarios will my manager be looking at. And I have already built that up in my proposal or in my report or in my plan. So what happens is, when you go to the manager, you are so well prepared that all you need is an approval. And what the rest would do, not the stars, but the rest would do, they typically go with the attitude ki theek hai, chalega, agar ek do mistakes bhi ho gaya, my manager will correct it because the manager knows the best. Now that's a mindset. The mindset says it's okay, manager will look at it and give me inputs. But the star mindset is that no, I have done all my research, I have incorporated as many perspectives as I could have. And now I am only going there to take an approval or a sign off that, is this okay? Can I go ahead and do it? So what happens is, you are building that trust and the manager is trusting you that, okay, when I hand over something to this person, I know that this will be done. I don't need to kind of, get into those specifics and see, okay, kahan error hua hoga, or, what would have, what has been missed out. I don't need to go there. In that alley, I don't need to go. All I need to do is look at whether everything has been built in. And how quickly can we convert it into action. And what you're telling manager by doing this is that, trust me once you have given me the work to do. So trust me that I would have done my research, I would have done my homework, I would have done everything possible to make this happen for you, so that you don't have to spend time correcting things which, or kind of redoing things which I have done. So you have to give that trust to the manager. And I think one of the things I've seen stars doing this very well is, they come prepared. They come with that confidence that, what, I've done this. So now you need to go through and tell me what else can I do with this, and not really go back into what I've already done to see ki aur kya corrections karna hai. So that's about building trust, mindset of building trust. So how do you build trust with your managers? The second mindset is about awareness and curiosity. The mindset of awareness and mindset of curiosity, and I've clubbed it together. So what is this mindset all about? It's all about asking the questions, right questions. First 10 days, keep asking questions and listen. Ask questions, step back, listen. Ask questions, step back, listen. first 10 days is all about curiosity. It's all about saying, what is this company all about? So read up, understand what are the business challenges like. So say if you're doing a project in HR, and I'm a HR person, but I still say that a lot of HR students feel that, okay, HR is just about, people. It's just about understanding what my project is, what am I going to do? But HR, some of the most successful HR people that I've seen, they understand business. I'm not saying you need to understand the financials, P&L. Of course, it's good to know, but understanding like where is the business making its money from, who are the customers, what are the pain points within the business today, if the revenues are behaving in a particular way, why are they behaving in a particular way? Understand that business, understand what is the company actually doing, and have that curiosity to go out and talk to people and say that, okay, what do you do? It's a very now sometimes you feel silly asking such questions, but it's important to ask these questions because they're not silly. When you ask somebody, what do you do? You're actually wearing that curious hat to say that, okay, I'm interested in knowing how this company works and, what are the challenges that you face. So that's the curiosity. Understand the business of business, basically. So how does business happen in this company? Which are the important departments, who are the important people, how do they operate? Learn that, go out, reach out to people, learn that. And last year I saw this, and this is one behavior which I really wanted to talk about. It's accepting challenges. Sometimes world is not static, right? So world is not like aapko data and everybody will follow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points in it. Things will change. Things are dynamic. And sometimes people feel overwhelmed with it. Okay, I was asked to do something last week. Now suddenly things have changed. Now, this company is so unstructured and this company doesn't have a vision. My project doesn't have a vision. So stars, they actually don't complain. They actually don't blame. They just pick up that challenge. They're hungry to grab that challenge, and they would say, okay, you want me to do this? How do I do this? Let's do this. So it's all about identifying those learning opportunities, identifying those, areas where you're almost selfish at that point of time for learning, selfish for, you're hungry for acquiring new knowledge, and you're like, okay, if deliverables have changed, let me see what's in it for me. What learning is hidden out there that I can go and grab, which will help me build my perspective. So summer project is not about, just delivering something which has been asked of you. It's about building that perspective, because that's the only time you're getting to actually experience a corporate life. So how will you build those perspectives is what you need to think about. And building perspectives sounds, when you keep identifying these opportunities, when you keep identifying, these hidden challenges, which suddenly, one fine day will be thrown on you and you'll be like, okay, now what do I do? And that's when you find that gem of learning within that opportunity. The third mindset is all about anticipating needs, right? So what is this whole anticipation of needs? There was this one student who had asked me this question when we were starting off. That was many years ago. So she asked me, at the end of these 8 weeks, how are you going to evaluate me? Right? Now, sometimes what happens is, for the sake of giving a project, the project gets given to you. But a question like this actually triggers that thought process in the minds of managers as well, that, okay, this person is going to be with me for eight weeks. How am I going to evaluate this person? And how am I doing? What kind of measures am I looking out for? For a lot of managers, those deliverables are crystal clear. But sometimes when you don't know what are you supposed to deliver on, or what will actually make a fantastic project for a company, ask this question that, okay, how are you going to evaluate me after 8 months, 8 weeks? And assuming, you say that, okay, this project is a world-class project, what will qualify it to be world-class? How would you say that this project is a world-class project? So ask that question. Set agenda, so it's like, so you're meeting your manager, right? And for a review, and I give your manager an agenda saying that, what, these are the 5 things I want to discuss with you in this call today. And the manager will also appreciate the fact that you've thought through, you're respecting the time, and therefore you're anticipating that, okay, these are the 5 things that might come up for me, and therefore I am going to discuss this with you. So when you're setting agenda, what happens is you are clear that, okay, these are some of the challenges that will come up in my project. I need an address. I need a resolution. You're giving your manager an opportunity to anticipate what's going to come up. So always set an agenda, send it out to your project leader or project mentor or manager, and say, these are the things which I want to discuss with you. And if the manager doesn't have answers, it would also give them an opportunity to find those answers before they meet you. The fourth one is mindset of communication, right? So how frequently are you communicating with your manager? You might want to communicate every day, but manager has thousands of other things to do. That may not be possible. So ask them. So how often should we connect? How often would you like me to talk to you or tell you about my project or give you an update about my project? Now that's communicating proactively to say that, okay, this question actually came up that when you're doing a virtual kind of an project, how do I keep communicating with my manager, or how do I keep communicating with others? While I'll answer this at length later, but I just want to let you know that a simplest way to do this is just ask your manager, how often would you like to connect? If I have any questions before we connect, who do I reach out to, or how do I reach out to you? How would you prefer to meet me? That's number one. Number two, in managing communications or building that mindset of communications, is to let your manager know what are you good with. So I had a student who was working with me. She was from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So she was doing her HR specialization. Day one, she tells me that, what, I'm also good with writing content. So in case you think that I could help you there, I'll be very happy to support, because I'm looking out for opportunities to hone that skill. And I liked it because at that point of time, I was really looking forward to having a content writer with me in my team. So sometimes when you tell the person that, okay, this is what I'm good with, this is what I'm passionate about, if there's an opportunity, do share it with me. That's communication. That's kind of telling someone that, I like to do this. Or if you kind of, tell your manager that, what, I am actually good with creating videos. So the manager knows that this is how he or she would leverage you. If there's an opportunity, they would leverage you. So tell them about your strengths. Tell them what are you good with. And that's the mindset of communication. The third mindset of communication is when you don't know something, say it, that I don't know this. Right? I have researched, I have gone out and I have looked up, but I still don't know this. I need help. Now, two things happen. So one is when you say, I don't know, you're opening that possibility for the manager to mentor you, one, and tell you where to look out for that information. Two, you're saving time. So instead of not saying, I don't know, and then, sitting on it, you are actually helping the manager save time by saying that, okay, if you don't know, can I give it? Yes, or can I mentor you into looking out for that information at an appropriate place? So say it. that I don't know. And that's also effective communication. The fifth mindset is the mindset of delivery and execution, right? So a lot of times, what happens is you say that, okay, this will be done by 30th of April. On 30th of April morning, you come back and say it's not that. Right now, if a manager is expecting that on 30th of April, what happens is that you are the manager is like caught off guard, because the manager is like, oh, I was hoping that this will be done by 30th. Now, there are two ways to look at it. Either if you committed 30th, it should be done on 30th. Yeah. So that commitment to delivery, to execution, saying that if it's supposed to be done by this day, it has to be done by this day. I'll go out of my way to make sure it's done on that day. Or if it's not getting done on 30th, at least keep your stakeholders informed 3 to 4 days in advance that it's not getting done on 30th, but it will be done by 1st of May. Yeah. So what happens is, if somebody's deliverable is linked to your deliverable, they get enough time to plan it out. And they appreciate the fact that you gave them a heads up that it's not happening. So you're respecting somebody's space and time again by saying that, okay, it's not happened, but it will be done. So that, that strength, that discipline of saying that, okay, if I've committed something, it needs to be done on that day. And that discipline is something that's going to stay with you forever. If you take one deadline casually, your mind will get into that habit of taking deadlines casually, even in the future. But if you take that one, you tell your mind that, no, I have to do this. If it's meant to be done today, it needs to be done today. Then your mind knows that, okay, what's that discipline all about? Your mind knows that, okay, it can't be any other deadline but this. And you will keep doing it always. So build that discipline within your own self, and that's the mindset. It's like, Stephen Covey in, one of the habits, he said that effective people strive to do excellent things, and then they prioritize. So, even in your summers, you will get tons of things to do. Prioritize what's important. And, this is one question which people keep asking us, that, I have tons of things to do. What do I do? How do I manage? Prioritize. See what's going to give you maximum impact. See what's going to impact the organization the most, impact the manager's deliverables the most. Talk to your manager. Say, I have these 10 things, and I really want to prioritize so that I help you. How do you suggest we do this? Which are the deadlines, or which are the projects that you need to be done immediately? And that also gives people an opportunity to communicate with you. This is one thing which keeps coming up. How do we communicate? So communicating is not about just building that rapport, or talking to somebody, saying hi, hello, talking about families. This is all important, but communication is also about how frequently are you asking questions, how frequently are you stepping back to just listen to what the person is saying, or picking those cues up from different interactions. So that's also communication. So, I want to end this. So just to kind of recap and summarize the 5 mindsets. So first is mindset of building trust. Number 2 is mindset of awareness and curiosity. Number 3 is mindset of anticipating needs. 4th is mindset of communication. 5th is mindset of delivery. And to summarize all of this, I think eventually it's your summer project. It's your career. You're going to be sitting for your final placements very soon. So you have to be accountable for the learnings. You have to be accountable for what are you investing your time in, investing your energy, investing your resources in? So, one of the little differentiation which are in when we talk about this whole accountability, one of the little differentiation that I've seen is stars actually take drastic responsibility for their own learning, for their own careers, for their own projects and their summer's experience. So there the mindset is, I'll do whatever it takes to make this worthwhile. Yeah, I will make sure that, my dreams come true. So if some of you are interested in psychology, there's a theory in, so there's this person called Carl Jung, and he has, he's defined different archetypes. So one of the archetypes, is a warrior archetype, and the warrior says, I will do whatever it takes to make this worthwhile. And the victim says, oh, you know what, I have a very pathetic manager who doesn't give me time, or the company culture is pathetic, they don't talk to their interns properly, or the company has no structure, or, I have no clue, where to go because I'm not getting enough mentorship. That's a victim mindset. And the warrior mindset is, I will do whatever it takes to make this work. Right. So, they would respect people's time. They would, the stars or the warriors would actually sharpen their skills, know where they need to invest their money, their energy, their time, and they give it their all. They're humble. They're humble. They know what they know. They know what they don't know. And they're okay to admit that. And, somebody else, like I said, stars and everybody else. So let's call them, the victims. So victims would always blame, they gossip, they would be casual about their attitude at work, about the way they show up. They believe that, okay, I don't need to invest in myself. I have already invested in my course, so I don't need to invest more. So that's really the whole victim mindset. So with this, I want to stop. I want to leave the floor open now for you to ask any questions that you may have. It's your forum. I know I've taken a lot of time already half an hour. But yes, next half an hour, we're going to talk about you all and what's on your mind. So all ears.
Hello, Meenu ma'am. We have certain questions in the Google form. Can we start answering those?
Yes, please do that. Yeah. So treat it as an informal session. You don't have to, like I said, there are no silly questions. Whatever is on your mind, just ask. Yes, please. Faisal, go ahead. Faisal, are you there?
Yes, I'm reading the questions for you.
Yes.
So there's a question from Daksh Jain. He's asking, what are the key attributes needed to ace the summers and to look for a PPO?
3 attributes to?
Key attributes to ace the summers. You have talked about acing the summers and to look for a PPO.
Yes. So, I've covered the mindset. So mindsets are very important. When you are in your, why should somebody hire you? So one of the things which my mentor taught me many years ago when I was a student, my mentor said that, nobody will pay you for identifying problems, because problems, everybody knows that there's a problem. So if you go to a manager and say that, hey, I have a problem, hey, there is a problem. Now the manager is already solving so many problems that they would want to know, okay, tell me the solution. I'm paying you to find a solution. So I think that mindset of finding solutions, of saying that, okay, if I'm going to meet somebody, I have to know what the problem is, and I need to have some options around the solutions as well. So I think, people look for that opportunity. See, you may not have all the solutions at that point of time, but they look for that attitude that, okay, are you somebody who can find opportunities? Are you somebody who can find those, those solutions? So what is that attitude? That's number one. Number two is, your learnability. Like, how, because a lot of times you come in as a fresher in a company. So people want to know, can you pick up things? Can you form networks? Can you actually learn a new concept? How quickly can you learn a new concept? So they look for those things. And therefore, it's important that you display it. You look for opportunities to tell them that, okay, I can learn and I can implement. So it's not just about, learning something. It's also about, how are you implementing it? What kind of solutions are you giving? And how are you, what's your plan around the implementation? And the third thing really is, if you ask me about the three attributes, third thing really is the communication. How are you communicating? How are you building networks? What kind of questions are you asking? Are you kind of, listening well? It's not like, oh, we have to ask. Can you listen? Can you step back, listen? Can you assimilate that information well and, devise a solution out of it? So I think, PPO may happen. It may not happen. That's not in your control, really. It's, every organization has multiple parameters on which they decide if they want to give a PPO or not. But what's in your hand, what's in your control is really how are you approaching your summers? How are you approaching these mindsets? How are you approaching these three things that I just mentioned? Your learnability, your problem solving approach, and your mindset, and your communication. So see how you can work on these three things. And like I said, PPO, no PPO is not in your hands. But what's in your hand, just do it well. Yeah. So whatever is in your control, that circle of influence and circle of concern, whatever is in your influence, do it well. Yes, Faisal. Next question.
And the next question is, in the work from home environment, how can one develop a rapport with the company officials?
Okay, lovely. So I gave some tips when I was talking about it, but I think set calendars. So say you cannot match the physical environment. A physical environment में कैसे होता है कि आप coffee पीने जा रहे हो, you meet somebody and you strike a conversation, and next thing you know that you're friends. But in a virtual environment, you will need to make an effort. It is a different environment, and we all need to kind of figure out ways to handle that well. So I think the first thing that you could really do is set regular calendar invite, identify. Again, you can't just go for a coffee in a virtual kind of an environment. So identify who are the key stakeholders, schedule meetings with them. So say it's your boss, whoever is your project manager, that's one person. If you have a mentor, that's another person. Check with your manager, who are the other stakeholders that I need to keep in touch with, and schedule meetings with them. Ask them that how frequently can we meet. Even if it's for 15 minutes, I would just like to give you updates. Start formally. Just say that I want to give you updates. Without agenda, people would, and see, work from home has loaded people a lot, unfortunately. So if you give them an agenda, people would love to accommodate you in their schedule. So just tell them that, okay, I'm a college student and I'm doing a summer's project with you. And I want to kind of, work with you on these 2-3 things. Can you tell me when do I schedule some time on your calendar? Calendarize it. Make sure you show up on time. Make sure you show up well prepared. You've done your homework. Make sure that, all your papers are in place and you're asking pointed questions to them. That's the way to build rapport. And see, if you schedule 15 minutes, if somebody is so happy talking to you, they might give you, 5-10 minutes more because they see that, okay, there is that spark in you to, to come prepared, to make sure that your notes are in place, so on and so forth. So think about what can you do to add value to this conversation. Why should that person give you, say, 20 extra minutes? So what value are you adding to that conversation is the question that you should be asking. So I think scheduling meetings is one. To just, get some cues, like how do people actually socialize in this company? So every company has a different style. Some would do fun Fridays virtually on Zoom, or, some would actually have town halls happening. So see, how are people networking in this kind of an environment? It's been 1 year since almost every company is now working from home. So they have devised their own ways. Figure out what are those systems, what are those processes where people are interacting with each other, and make sure you are there. Ask somebody to include you in these forums. And just be there, just show up there and see what comes out of it. So I think, these are the two quick ways in which you could figure out how to connect with people better, because these are the forums which have been provided by the companies. Yeah. Vincent, next question.
Yes, Shikha Sinha, student, wants to chat with you. Shikha, can you unmute yourself and ask the question?
Sure. Hi, Meenu ma'am. I would like to know what will be the top 3 skills that one should pick up from a summer internship?
Okay, so, for me, I think the biggest skill that you should pick up is the business understanding. Yeah, so people think that it's all about, if my project, just as an example, if my project is putting together a process, that's fine, do it. It's needed and you'll be evaluated on it. But more importantly, you need to know how is this process going to impact the business? Who are the people who are going to be impacted by this process or this particular SOP, and how are they going to be impacted? So that understanding of the business is most important. The second is, where is the money coming from in the business? What are the products? Who are the customers? Who's paying? And where is the money going from the business? What are, you may not know all the line items of a financial statement, but, broadly, you should understand what the business is all about. I think that's the biggest skill, biggest learning that you could take back when it comes to building your own perspective. The second skill I feel is the functional skill. So, for example, if a project has been given to you, right? So if somebody tells you make a recruitment SOP. Now, do you understand recruitment completely beyond the SOP as well? Are you doing your research enough? Are you doing, are you kind of talking to people to understand what is this whole monster called recruitment all about? While you've been assigned to do just the SOP, but do you understand other elements of recruitment? Like why is recruitment important in an organization? How is this particular organization addressing its talent gap? How are they, communicating the employee value proposition? Go as much deeper as you can as far as that particular function is concerned. Dig out all the information about the industry, dig out all the information about what channels are they using, what are the recruitment costs, what are the different ways in which, people are being interviewed, which are the levels in the organization, how are the job descriptions created. Go deeper, because, just as an example, if you sit for your final placements and the final placement is not about recruitments, then what do you do? So then the recruiter sees that, okay, how learnable are you? How have you captured all the other experiences in your skill, in your CV and in your project? So that's number 2. I think number 3 is, and this is something which, most people do not talk about, is, the whole people part of people part of the organization. So which means that, how can you build empathy? And a lot has been written about the fact that one of the things which most managers lack is empathy. So how do you build that empathy while you are at the workplace? How do you understand how networks are formed in the organization? How do you understand, the culture of the organization? And sometimes people feel कि वो touchy-feely है, इसको क्यों समझना है? But this is the culture in which you are going to thrive. This is the culture which is holding the organization together. So it's important that you understand, the culture nuances of the organization. How are the networks formed? How are the relationships formed? How do you communicate with people? How do you ensure that, your work is getting done even when you are not, or that person is not directly responsible to you? How do you get things done? How do you empathize with others? And, last 1 year, people have been talking about this, that, one big thing which, has distinguished good organizations from the rest is empathy. The kind of empathy these organizations had for their customers, for their employees, for their families, for their stakeholders, for their shareholders, because everybody went through the same pandemic and the same, chaos at the same time. So how did organizations support each other? And I think that's one thing which you need to kind of, pick up in this and, sharpen it, that as good managers, how can you be more empathetic towards others?
Thank you, Meenu ma'am. Thank you. I really appreciate the information you shared. Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there someone wants to share any questions, or should I read the questions from the Google form?
No, I think we have so many students, so many participants on the call. I would love to hear from you guys. And please put your camera on. I'm kind of now feeling that I'm talking to my phone. I would love to see faces. Because... Hey, Saurabh, I can see you. Awesome.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, tell me.
So, ma'am, basically, there are different companies coming to the campuses, and each one has different criteria for the selection. And basically, when we start preparation, we start from vision, and then practically what are the parameters the company will be judging. So, in a shorter span of time, we have to prepare for large number of companies. So, what is the basic thing that it's need to be built over the time? Like in 2-3 months, the placements are going to be started. The campuses.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, just have a very strong grip on your summer project. Build that up. Summers is the most important part of your entire CV, where you're going to talk about your experiences. You're going to show the recruiter what are you capable of, what are your achievements in the summers, and, how will you apply your learnings at the workplace. Build that up very strongly. That's one thing which needs to happen. The second thing is, know about the company a little more. Like, do some research on who are the customers of the company, who are the important stakeholders for the company. If there is some news around the company, know about that news. And if say the company is in papers for some particular reason, what is that reason all about? And one simplest thing which I do, like when I go to meet my prospective clients, I read up on them. And one thing which I do is, I just go to money control, and if it's a listed company, then I just kind of scroll through the news and research segment on money control for that listed company. So if it's a listed company, there's enough information available on the internet, on different websites, etc. If it's not a listed company, there is still enough information available. Look up Glassdoor. On Glassdoor, you will see people commenting about the company. So you get to know nuances of culture and on the basis of which you could ask pointed questions. So see, again, I go back to this thing on circle of influence and circle of concern. Now, circle of influence is what can you influence? Do it well. So which means you read up on the company as much as you can. Vision, mission, values is very good. Read up on the news. Because when you read up, you can also ask intelligent questions to the prospective recruiter. Sharpen your summer projects, sharpen your learnings, write down that, okay, what are the 3 things that you can contribute basis your experience from summer internships that a recruiter can immediately leverage. Because, one of the things recruiters always have in their minds is that, okay, now I hire you. Now I'll take 6 months at least to make sure that you are productive. So can you talk in a language that's addressing that problem to say that, okay, I've learned these 3 things from my summer internship, and now I'm ready to apply these at your workplace. So give that confidence to the recruiter by doing your homework well. Write down what are my skill sets, what are my strengths, what if somebody hires me, how will they benefit out of this? How will they benefit out of having me in their team? Write it down. Because when you write down, your blind spots are minimized. Sometimes we also don't know what are we good with. But when you write it down, you know that, okay, I'm good with this, and therefore I need to leverage this a little more. So have that conversation, have that preparation within, before you actually, and these are consistent things. These won't change from interview to interview. But yes, do make it a point to go through the job description of the company and see what kind of experiences can you share in the interview basis the job description. It may not be a direct correlation. You, just as an example, you've done your, say, summers in a bank, and then there's an FMCG company which is coming in for a sales profile. What kind of sales learnings did you have working at a bank that you can utilize in a FMCG company? The product could be different, but what do you bring in to that whole thing? What experiences do you bring in that will give them that confidence that, okay, at least you have your basics in place. Now it's all about just orienting you to the FMCG products, all about telling you how FMCG products behave in a market. That's about it. But they need to see that, okay, you have those basics in place and you have to write it down, everything. So one good practice also is when you're doing your summers, as soon as you do a 10 minutes reflection exercise every day, end of the day, sit with your journal, reflect on how did the day go by. What did you learn? What are the skills you picked up? If you didn't like something, write it down that, okay, I didn't like it. Why did I not like it? What am I learning out of it? So write down everything, because these notes will help you later when you're creating your own pitch for any company. Every day, just do 10 minutes of journaling, write down all that you learned on that particular day.
Meenu ma'am, I have another question. So I would like to ask, suppose if I'm applying, if I did a sales internship for that matter, and if I apply for a non-sales role, how should I answer in a final interview?
So you know what, your answers will depend on 2-3 things. So one is, nobody's stopping you from doing a second internship, right, in the area which you like. Now, assuming you are not getting that internship, so assume you're doing a sales internship and you want to get into the branding side of the organization. Now, there are 2-3 things out there. So one is you can say that, okay, I did a project which is all about branding, but because I've done sales, I understand how a customer perceives a brand better. So that gives me an advantage that, okay, I know the customer side of it. And I'm not just sitting in a cushy office and, designing a brand strategy. I know what's the ground reality because I've done a project in sales. So that's one way of communicating. 2 is you're saying, I have done a project in branding. These are my learnings, and this is how I would intend to apply these concepts at the workplace. 3 is I don't have a project in branding, but I have done research in branding. And these are the 3 papers I have written on branding in FMCG, in say insurance, and in say something else. So what the idea is for the recruiter is to know that you understand branding. It's not like, you just come up and you're saying, I want to do branding. Do you understand branding? Do you know what does it take to be in the branding function? And strongly recommend to use your sales experience for, those kind of roles, because no branding person can be successful without understanding how the customer on the last this thing is perceiving your brand, right? So the brand is made for the customer. So if you are not customer focused, if you don't know how the customer is behaving or what the customer wants, the brand will not be effective. So use that pitch to say that I've done sales, I know branding, and put together, this is what I can offer you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I have one more question. So the second question is, how should I access if an opportunity is worth pursuing? Suppose if I have like multiple options for an internship. So how do I access that? Which one to go for?
Yeah. So see, have a larger vision on your goals, first of all. So for example, if your goal eventually is to say be in branding, yeah, see what will help you, be there. So if you have 4 roles and you feel that okay, this sales role is going to give me a very good understanding of how customers think, or what's the customer psychology, or how the market segmentation is done, pick that up, because eventually that experience is going to build up and help you do a role in branding. If your role is a combination of multiple things and branding is one of it, I would suggest pick it up. As many experiences that are going to help you go towards that goal is what you should look at, and everything else just scrape out. So if you get a role where, it's all about, say, writing policies, marketing policies, or making product brochures. I'm just giving an example. It may not be an apt example, and you feel that it's not going to supplement my learning. It may supplement at this, if it's supplementing at this point of time, pick it up, grab it. But if it's not going to add any value, just script. But have that goal, if you don't know where you want to go, like Alice in Wonderland, like you can just take any direction. So know where do you want to be.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Yes, I'm waiting for more questions. Faisal, do we have questions in your list?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So one student is asking what key features of intern stand out that are factored by the company to make it desirable for a PPO, especially in a work environment.
I think I answered this question earlier, right? So what will take you towards a PPO?
Okay, I'll go on the next question.
So whoever asked that question, if he or she on the call, please unmute yourself and ask a follow-up question. If you still think that the question is not answered, please ask again. But unmute yourself and, just ask. Yeah, Faiz.
Yeah, that question was asked by Divya Nair. She's on call. Divya Nair, do you want to follow up on that question?
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Actually, I do not have a follow-up on that. Ma'am did ask the question. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
Ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. So this is Divya Agrawal this side. Actually, ma'am, I had one question. Like, when we don't get selected for an interview or our CV is not getting shortlisted, so there is a kind of fear in our mind that we won't be getting any companies or we won't be able to go in some companies, and the time is going to be, the time is running. So, ma'am, how to overcome that fear that yes, you'll get time and everything will fall into the process? Just wait. So, how to overcome that?
Okay. So, Divya, very good question, and thank you for asking that, because it's so courageous sometimes to put your fears out there and say that, okay, this is scaring me, and I need to, which means you want to address it, and therefore you put it out. So applaud your courage there, Divya. So two, three things again. So one is, again, what can you control at this point of time? CV getting rejected or CV getting shortlisted is not, in your direct control. What can you control? I'm a big believer in something called as energies, right? So we have, if we have, like, say, 100 units of energy, what do I choose to spend that energy on, right? So I may choose to spend my energy on things which I can't control, things which are outside of my influence area, which are in my concern area, right? So I didn't get shortlisted. And I like, keep thinking, oh, what did I do wrong? What is missing in my CV? How was this person thinking? Which is fine. So if it's giving you that direction to take the next step, think about it. But if it's not giving you that answer, how will you choose to focus your energies on something which will help you build up? So can I then, without like feeding that energy of fear, can I feed that energy? Can I feed the energy of curiosity, therefore, to say that, okay, I didn't get selected, but there are people who got selected. What are they doing? What is on their CV that's missing in my CV today? Or, it may so happen that it's not that something is missing. It's just that, some experiences would resonate with the recruiters more than your, CV per se. So think about what next, what do I do next so that I am able to at least know that I'm doing my best that I can, and one thing which last year, a lot of people lost their jobs, and, some of my friends actually lost their jobs, and people were desperate, right? So people were desperate ki theek hai, kuch bhi mil jaye, I'm ready to go. But I kind of kept telling them that, see, it's your energy again. Like, if you are desperate, you will attract something which is in that zone of desperation. Somebody is also desperate, or you will attract something which will not speak to your purpose, which will not speak to your talent. So don't go with that mindset that, oh, I'm desperate, I want something to happen like right now. Go with that mindset that, okay, I'm working on myself, I'm work in progress, and I'm developing my skills, I'm developing my, this is a time, like, if there is a delay, it's a time for me to develop my skills and develop my capabilities, my CV. And when I am investing in myself, I am able to attract opportunities that are right for me. So I'm going with that mindset again that, okay, and it's not positivity. A lot of people say it's like, access positivity. It's not positivity. It's about saying, where do I choose to focus my energies on? What do I work on? What is in my circle of influence? What can I influence at this point of time? And choose to focus there instead of focusing or feeding that fear. So as soon as you fear something, catch yourself there. It's okay to fear is also a feeling, it's an emotion. Catch yourself and say that, okay, now I'm fearful, but I have an option. Pause, say, I am fearful, I'm feeling that fear, what do I do next? and your mind will tell you what to do next. Your mind will never tell you, okay, get into that mode more deeper. You may
Ma'am,
not want
actually, ma'am, what you are saying, it is very difficult to apply in real life, in practical life.
That's because we don't pause. We don't pause. We just keep feeding that further. When you stop feeding that, when you just pause and say that, okay, I'm feeling this fear. Now what do I do? So do I still keep feeding it? Or do I feed something else? And feed something else would mean that, okay, now I have not received it. अब मैं क्या करूँ? अभी तो नहीं मिला है ना, ये कंपनी ने हमें नहीं shortlist किया है. Should I brood over it? Should I sit back and brood and say, oh, I'm a victim? Or should I shift and say, I'm a warrior? It's okay if this company has not selected me. What can I do now? How can I make sure that next time I show up differently? Next time I read up differently? So you always, every moment you have that choice with you. So I'll give you, if you think this is, not practical, I'll give you an example. Last year, around April, March, April, when this whole lockdown started, a lot of our assignments started going slow. Now, under advisory, some of the clients said, okay, let's pause for 10 days and see how it goes. Now, one way for us would have been, oh, what do we do now? Because now, every company is like thinking of surviving. So why would they want to work with consultants? So we thought, okay, abhi kya kare? We also were fearful. We were also fearful of the fact, okay, will we survive? What will happen? Everybody had that. But that time actually gave us an opportunity to conceptualize Yugma. Yugma wouldn't have happened if we didn't have that time, those 10-15 days. If we didn't have 10-15 days where everything was slow, Yugma wouldn't have come into picture. Or we couldn't have spoken to so many students in that point of time, because we realized that, okay, what is it that the industry needs at this point of time? Let's focus on that. Let's pivot. Pivoting is the name of the game at this point of time. If you look at the case studies of all the organizations, everybody is talking about pivoting. Everybody's business model got pivoted because people realized that this is a setback and I need to adapt. So that's the energy concept that I'm talking about. Where do I want to focus my energy on? It's not working, it's not working, it's not working. Or what else can I do to make it work? So that's the victim warrior mode that I wanted to bring out. Divya, happy to talk to you. Even otherwise, if you think that you need to, have a sounding board, just email me. We'll fix up a time and we'll talk. But no need
ma'am. But thank you so much. You really point out some things which I can actually apply, or I can actually try to apply to see whether it is helping or not.
Sure.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I'm happy that you got something valuable out of it. Yeah. Yes. What else?
Umang has joined the call. He had some 4 or 5 questions. Umang, would you like to ask some questions?
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, Umang. I can't see you.
Ma'am, there's some issue with network here.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, Umang, tell me.
Ma'am, first of all, thank you so much for this session. The question which I wanted to ask was are those changes which we have seen right now because of COVID, which was happening, are they going to stick around, or will we just go back to that previous normal, whatsoever they was, be it in HR field or be it in any field? So we have seen that we are moving towards work from home, but after it's going to be back to normal, maybe in a year or so, are we going back to that previous thingy of going back to office, being there, or something else? Some changes will be there.
So, Umang, I'm a big believer of the fact, and especially after whatever has happened in the last year, that you cannot predict. Yeah, you can only pivot. So which means that this is last 1 year, if there's one thing which everybody has learned is that you need to change at a rate which was faster than anticipated. We anticipate, people kept saying change is only constant. But nobody predicted the speed of that change at that point of time. And last 1 year has taught us what is the speed of change. Every day we were changing. Every day we were learning something new. How would the world change? Honestly, I don't have an answer because, I don't have that crystal ball as yet to look into the future and say, how will it change? But I think one of the things which has changed and which will continue is that, every day we will be forced to look at our priorities clearly, to say that, okay, are we doing the right things? Are we building the right things? Are we building from the perspective that, if another pandemic, God forbid, happens after 2 years, or, say next year, a new wave happens, are we in a position to manage that well? So, for example, in Bombay now, there is a lockdown again. There's a second wave which has started. Organizations are saying that we are better prepared now because we know how it was last year. So last year, the whole work from home was a shake-up for most companies. But now people are saying, now we have the systems in place. Now we have the processes. So even if we want to work from home for next 2 months, we are okay. So I think organizations have started anticipating things better. They've started anticipating the fact that there are going to be changes. So how are our processes geared in a way that they are flexible? I think more flexibility has come in, which is going to stay. Earlier people were rigid, processes were rigid. Now I think that rigidity is gone. Now people are saying, okay, can we bring in those flexibilities? Can we make our processes adaptive? Can they adapt to the changing lifestyles, mindsets, situations outside of work, so on and so forth? So I think that's going to stay constant in my mind. What is going to happen? That's something which, honestly can't predict. Are we going back to the original normal? Maybe not, because a lot has changed for people. A lot has changed for companies. There are newer ways in which companies are collaborating, communicating, sharing. So I think people will only evolve from here. It's like, we were here, we've come up here. Now we have to only go up, or, we have to find avenues. Going back, to me, looks like, a very bleak possibility, per se.
Sure, ma'am. Got it. So I actually got it from was we are moving from a reactive thing to a more proactive thing after this COVID scenario, I guess.
I don't know, honestly, Umang, if we are being more proactive to the whole thing, because see, while it's good to be proactive, but there are situations that you can't anticipate. So being proactive always is like an ideal situation to be in, but you can't be proactive always. Sometimes you have to react to the situations. What is proactive is, how ready you are to be there. So if you are like, thinking about it to say that, okay, I need to be ready for something, that's proactiveness. On that particular day, what happens is something that you can't control. And, also answering, Divya's question a while ago, that what can I do about it? If my CVs are getting rejected, it's all about, what can you proactively do about it? On that day, what happens is something which is not really in your control. But leading up to the process is something that's in your control. Okay, so we need to, thanks, Umang. We need to end this session in under 5 minutes. So if I am very happy to take a last question. And of course, this is not the last session really. We'll meet again after 15 days. So if there is something burning, ask me now. Otherwise, after 15 days, you will see me again. No questions? So then we end the session. So guys, thank you so much for being here, for showing up. Okay, so let's do this. The question that was just asked, let's take it in the next session. Please park your question. Very happy to take it in the next session for all of you. So let's meet again after 15 days. I'm sure some new questions will come up for you. Please share this, if you think that you took away value, please share this value with others as well. So if you think your batchmates or, your friends, family, cousins, who are studying, they also have similar questions, ask them to come over. This 1 hour, 15 minutes, 30 minutes is all for you. So very happy to, be talking to you all. So I'll see you again after 15 days.